thank you for joining us for another episode of Boom and Bust. I'm your host, Tony Clement, here at the News Forum, where all voices matter. Canada's international trade last year was almost $1.9 trillion, an impressive amount, but there are a number of storm clouds bearing down on the country. Here to discuss this is Kyle Seeback. He is the Member of Parliament for Dufferin-Caledon in Ontario, and also the Shadow Minister for International Trade for the official opposition Conservatives. Welcome to the program.
Happy to be here, Tony.
I guess the first thing is, betraying my bias as a former member of the Stephen Harper cabinet, but we seem to have a lot of momentum in those years for new trade deals and international trade generally. Has that petered out in Mr. Trudeau's Canada?
Well, I think trade's challenging right now in general with what's going on. As you know, our largest trading partner is the United States, and we certainly have a large number of trade irritants going on with the United States right now, and a lot of them are self-inflicted wounds. And to me, expanding trade is a hugely important thing that we always want to do, look for new trading opportunities for Canada. But we should never forget that 75% of our trade is actually, going south of the border. And that's the most important relationship that we have to maintain. And it seems to me that the current government has lost track of that in a significant way.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit more, dig deeper with the Canada-US, because as you point out, that is by far our most important trade relationship, political relationship, diplomatic, military, you name it. So what are these trade irritants and how are they being handled?
Well, I think we can sort of go down the list, right? We have challenges with softwood lumber, and I know that's not new, but as you know, that within a few months of the Conservatives forming the government back in 2006, a long-term softwood lumber deal was signed that brought peace, and we're now, 7 years into not having a trade agreement with, anti-dumping and countervailing duties being applied every single year. So that's a huge problem. We've now got a panel that's going on with respect to dairy under CUSMA. We have challenges with now the U.S. Ways and Means Committee has just put out a letter on the digital services tax. They're unhappy about that. It seems to me that we're increasing the trade irritants with the United States. I also know they're unhappy with the government's support of Bill 282, which was a supply management bill brought by the Bloc Québécois. Mm. So all of these things, I think, are making it a little more challenging within the trade deal with the United States, especially when you think that the review is the 6-year review is coming up closely, and you'd think we'd want less irritants with the United States rather than more.
Yeah, based on your analysis there, Kyle, it seems like whatever you call it, CUSMA or USMCA, the Canada-US trade treaty, that really hasn't solved the problems in that way, right?
By and large, most of our trade is going well, but the challenge is that we seem to be creating more of the irritants ourselves. Mm-hmm. We know softwood lumber is a long-standing dispute. I think we're on lumber 5 or something like that. So this dispute goes back a long way. But there are ways to resolve it. The government just hasn't seemed to been able to do it or lacks the conviction to get it done. The other things are what sort of are storm clouds I see on the trading relationship that make it more difficult to resolve, for example, the softwood lumber dispute when you're creating these other disputes yourself that gives, the United States government less incentive to resolve that one dispute because they're unhappy about these other 3 or 4 things that Canada's doing.
That includes the digital and some of the other initiatives of the government.
That's right, yes.
Yeah, interesting. Obviously, any big trade deals with other countries on the offing right now, or are they just completely? I
know they're looking at trying to get something done with Indonesia. That's certainly that would be a big deal. The free trade talks have suspended with India. That could have been a large opportunity for Canada. So they seem to be putting some effort into these things. My big challenge, another big challenge I find with the government is we have a lot of trade irritants within existing free trade agreements. And those ones are harder to resolve. They take more political will, direct negotiation, hard work, and effort. And that's both within free trade with the European Union, free trade with the United States. And it seems to me that the government wants to go for sort of the more showy things. Oh, we signed this small trade deal here, as opposed to, for example, trying to resolve the issue of complete lack of access, for beef and pork into the European Union or into the United Kingdom.
We're just going to take a brief break with our guest, Kyle Seeback. We'll be back after these messages.